Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope your day and your week has been going very well so far. Week 14 of the college football season is officially upon us, also known as the final week of the regular season for college football, also known as rivalry week. Kind of bittersweet. We're at the end of the regular season, but we've got so much great football ahead of us with bowl season, conference championship games next week, CFP coming up. So much great stuff still to come, but this is the conclusion of the regular season. We've got a really great slate of games here. And as always, guys, I got some really great picks to go ahead and share with you. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new week of college football comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. Now, as you guys can tell by the thumbnail, it says Saturday bets. I know this video is coming out Friday afternoon, and I know there are games on Friday, actually a good number of games today on Black Friday. Here's the thing, there's so many picks, I can only get to so much, and because of the holidays, I couldn't get this video out early enough for you guys to have all of the games from the Friday and Saturday. So what I did was there's 3 Clash of the Titans videos already posted now live on the channel covering some of the bigger Friday games. We have Georgia Tech video, Texas A&M, Arizona State. Those are the 3 big games today. Those videos, they're all out. Go check those out. I broke down those games and gave picks, multiple picks for each of those games. This video is just breaking down all of the games on Saturday, or most of the games, the big ones on Saturday. And guys, before you guys jump to the comments and say, where's the picks for this game? Where's the picks for that game? There's only so many picks I can cover. I have 12 picks to share with you guys in today's video for the Saturday college football slate. So we still have a ton of picks to get to. But unfortunately, we couldn't cover every game, although there are a lot of great ones today. We are coming off a little bit of a bounce back week last week. We went 9-6 on our picks last week. So again, trending in the right direction after a couple of really awful weeks. 9-6 last week. So some positive momentum coming to the final week of the regular season. We got a lot to talk about, guys. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the picks. But stick around to the end of the video so I can go ahead and tell you guys about the schedule moving forward. I don't want to do that now. It'll take too much time. So at the end of the video, I'll explain what the schedule is going to look like for bowl season, conference championship games, CFP, all that stuff will be described at the end of the video. So if you are curious about that and what the schedule is going to look like, stick around to the end of the video. All right, enough rambling. Let's go ahead. We got 12 picks to go ahead and break down for Week 14, Saturday college football. All right, guys, jumping over to the outlier screen, our first pick in today's video comes from the Clemson, South Carolina game, 12 p.m. kickoff. And I am going with the Gamecocks here, South Carolina, -2.5 on the spread, which I am grabbing for -112, best odds available to me over on Novik. Now, I know the last couple of weeks we've been going with the, third and long, second and short, first and goal category. That's not necessarily going away, but in this video, we had 12 picks, which is fewer than normal, and it was hard kind of to distinguish which picks I liked more than the others. So in this video, we're going old school, how we used to do it. We're just going in the order of the time. So we're starting from the 12 p.m. slate, going off throughout the day, and then finishing off with the nighttime games, going in order of time, not necessarily my favorite picks. But don't worry, if there are any changes in how many units I put on the games, it'll be down below in the pinned comment showing you guys what my picks are, the units placed, so on and so forth. All right, guys, so South Carolina -2.5 here. Look, this is a tale of 2 disappointing seasons for both Clemson and South Carolina in this spot. The key difference in this spot and why I like South Carolina at home is the fact that the reason these teams have had disappointing years, 2 different reasons. Clemson just disappointing because they just haven't played well, whether it be tough teams, weak teams. Now, injuries have played a role in that, but overall, just underperformance, right? Cade Klubnik was not the quarterback that he was supposed to be this year, among a number of different factors for Clemson. For South Carolina, some of it is underperformance, but a lot of it was they had one of the toughest schedules in college football. Scroll down below the right side of the screen here. You'll see South Carolina, the second hardest schedule in college football this season. So a very tough year for South Carolina. Clemson, meanwhile, tied for 69th. We'll go ahead and pause for the applause. Tied for 69th in the nation in terms of strength of schedule. So these are 2 teams, very different circumstances surrounding why we didn't have success this year. In this spot, though, I think South Carolina's defense is going to make it very hard for Clemson to go ahead and score. Clemson, it's just kind of, like I said, it's been a really bad year for them. South Carolina, top 40 scoring defense in the nation. Now, there is a little bit of an advantage spot for Clemson here. They're passing offense against this South Carolina pass defense, but we've seen South Carolina hold their own against these big teams in recent games. You saw A&M, they almost beat the number 3 ranked team, undefeated A&M Aggies at College Station. They hung around with Bama. They hung around with Missouri. Like, they have had some really good performances this year in this spot. Clemson, I know that some people are like, oh, they're trending in the right direction. They beat Florida State. They beat Louisville. Louisville's been falling apart. Florida State, not a very good team. I think we've so quickly forgotten what happened against SMU, what happened against Duke, some of these other spots. So I get it. I understand. There's a couple of spots where you could see Clemson, even defensively. Clemson, their run defense is obviously very good. South Carolina offensively in general have not been very good this year. Clemson, good pass rush. South Carolina, not a very good offensive line. I do understand where some people are backing Clemson here, but ultimately, I'm trusting the team that the reason they have a lot of losses is because they've just had a number of heavy ranked games this year over the team that's lost against non-ranked teams, lower tier ranked teams. If South Carolina had Clemson's schedule, you could add 3 wins right off the bat. I really do believe that. I just think South Carolina got kind of hosed with their schedule this year. Again, the offense is better than the numbers show you. The defense is better than the numbers show you. It's just they're playing these elite teams. So I'll take South Carolina at home in this spot. Despite the fact it's not my favorite play of the week, I do think that South Carolina, with the experience, the battle-tested level that they have been at this year, should be able to take care of Clemson. No problem. All right, guys, my second pick in today's video comes from the game, Ohio State at Michigan, 12 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. And I do have my Clash of Titan video for this game is coming out at 5:30 p.m. Eastern today. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, because if you want my full thoughts, go check that video. And go check out all those videos, guys. We are 62-33 on the year in the Clash of the Titans video series. So if you're not watching those videos, you're missing out on a lot of great picks and a lot of great value. So make sure to go ahead and check those videos out. So like I said, not going to spend too much time here, but I do like Ohio State in this spot. Minus 8.5, which I am grabbing for minus 116 over on Novig. I just think that Ohio State's passing offense should have success against a Michigan pass defense that's just not been good enough. And on the flip side, I just don't know Michigan's offense against the best defense in college football this year is going to be able to hang around. Neither of these teams are all that battle tested, but Michigan, when the few times where they have had tough contests, whether it be USC or Oklahoma, they lost by 10 or more points in both of those games. Now facing off the Ohio State team motivated. They haven't beaten Michigan since 2019. This is going to be a heavily motivated Ohio State team and a very good Ohio State team. I think them winning this game by 9, which, by the way, they've covered 8.5 points in 91% of their games this year, shouldn't be that much of a problem. So give me Ohio State here, the Buckeyes, minus 8.5 at Michigan. And again, if you want more picks and more thoughts and deeper analysis, go watch that Clash of Titans video coming out at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time today. Next up, guys, our third pick in today's video, we have another 12 p.m. kickoff game. We've got a little Big 12 showdown here, Houston at Baylor. And I'm going with the team with the better value here, and that's Houston on the money line here, plus 130 over on Novik. So great value for a team that has a better record. And I understand that Baylor, they have some good matchup spots in this game. Okay, looking at the right side of the screen, the matchup. The big one to note is Baylor's passing offense against this Houston passing defense. A big advantage there for the Baylor Bears. That being said, though, yes, Houston's pass defense is the weaker element of their defense. It's still top 50 in the nation. So, yes, they're not great, but they're not terrible either. And there's a lot of other metrics for Baylor that don't point very well for them. They can't run the football. They turn the ball over at a very high rate. They don't really have that great of an offensive line. They're not efficient in the red zone. Yes, they have a good passing offense, but everything else around that passing offense is not all that great. On the flip side, Houston has a massive advantage against this Baylor run defense here. Houston, 54th in the nation in rushing yards per game. Their offense hasn't been great this year, tied for 65th in scoring. They're okay, but that's a massive spot here where they're 54th in the nation in rushing yards per game. And Baylor this year, the biggest weak area here is their run defense, tied for 124th in college football in terms of rushing yards allowed per game. And they're 123rd in the nation in scoring defense, giving up 32.7 points per game. They don't force turnovers, They don't have a pass rush. They don't tackle for loss. This defense is really, really bad. The only area they're kind of efficient in the red zone, if you want to give 57th in the nation a good ranking. So not very good. You also have a Baylor team that's lost 4 of their last 5 games, so they're not coming in this one in a good form. They got blown out by Arizona, blown out by Utah, blown out by Cincinnati, beaten by 6 to TCU. Houston also coming in some shaky form, losing to West Virginia at home, losing to TCU at home last week. But they have an Arizona State win. They have the Arizona win. They have a couple of decent wins scattered throughout there where I do trust Houston here. I think this game genuinely is a coin flip game. But Houston has won more games. They've beaten more better teams. And I think they have that huge advantage, that rushing offense against that Baylor run defense, that you're giving me plus 130 for Houston. I know they're on the road, but I like them a lot in this spot. Such a great value spot here for the Cougars. So give me Houston here, plus 130 against the Baylor Bears. Couple last few points before we move on to the next pick. Houston 5-0 in their last 5 games on the road straight up. So they beat UCF, Arizona State a big win, and a couple of bad teams, obviously, as you can see, Rice, Oregon State, Oklahoma State. Not exactly massive competition, but the Arizona State win obviously was big on the road. But add the fact is the extra motivation factor here. Houston obviously got beat by 10 at home last year to Baylor. This year, they have a chance for a measure of revenge at Baylor. So, again, for plus 130, the value is certainly, if Houston was favored in this spot, minus 115, I would not be taking this, but it's the fact that you're getting it at plus 130. It's too valuable to not pass up, or to pass up. You know what I was trying to say. And by the way, guys, we just hit the 10-minute mark in today's video. So if you are still watching at this point, thank you. We appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys had a great holiday. We are very thankful for you all year long, your support. And we appreciate those who watch through all of our videos all the way through. So go ahead and comment 10 down below if you are still watching at this point. All right, guys, our 4th pick in today's video, sticking with the 12 p.m. Window here. We have Kentucky, Louisville. And I'm going with the Louisville Cardinals here, minus 2.5 on the spread, which I'm grabbing for minus 115 over on Novig. Now, in the last game, we talked about teams in form, and Louisville is not one of those teams. They've lost each of their last 3 games, losing to Cal at home, lost to Clemson at home, and they got blown out last week by SMU. They failed to cover, obviously, 2.5. They haven't won the game, so how can they cover 2.5 in each of the last 3 games? So a team that's kind of been spiraling of late, coming into this matchup versus a Kentucky team that, you know, they got blown up by Vanderbilt last week. They're not exactly in great form, although they do have wins against Auburn, a win against Florida. So they're coming to this one in a little bit better shape. But looking down below the right side of the screen here, I do think it's still a pretty decent matchup for Louisville. This defense has clear advantages on both sides in terms of the passing and the rushing, right? Louisville top 40 team in terms of passing yards allowed per game, top 30 in terms of rushing yards allowed per game. Kentucky outside the top 75 in both passing and rushing. They don't really have a good offensive line. They turn the ball over at a very, very, very high rate, giving up 1.9 turnovers per game. This is a Louisville team that's top 50 in the nation in terms of turnovers forced per game. Louisville inefficient in the red zone. Just not a really good, the Kentucky offense is not good, and Louisville's defense is still one of the better defenses in the ACC. Now, go to the opposite side here. This is the area where I have some concern with Louisville, because they don't really have any clear advantages except for their passing offense, which has been a mixed bag this year against a Kentucky defense, though, that ranks 109th in the nation, giving up over 245 passing yards per game this season. Now, one matchup to keep an eye on here is Kentucky's pass rush, which isn't a great pass rush by any means, but they are top 60 in terms of sacks per game, top 50 in QB hits per game, and this is a Louisville offensive line that has not been all that great. Also, Louisville turned the ball over at a high rate themselves. Kentucky top 60 in terms of turnovers forced per game. But overall, as you can see from the numbers here, I do think Louisville still have advantages on both sides of the ball here. They're also at home. So with those advantages, with the home field advantage, it's only a 2.5 point spread. I think you're getting value on Louisville because of their recent form. If this was a month ago, Louisville would be probably 7.5 to 8.5 point favorites in this game. Getting them at 2.5, I think, is a steal. So I'll go ahead and take Louisville on the spread here, minus 2.5. I know they have been bad lately, but this is not a tough team comparative to what they played here. You know, SMU is a pretty solid team. Clemson, I know we just kind of crapped on them not too long ago, but they're obviously better than Kentucky, and Cal also better than Kentucky. All right, guys, our 5th pick in today's video, sticking with that 12 p.m. window here. We've got Texas Tech, West Virginia, and I'm going with the Red Raiders here. Team total over 35.5 points, which I am grabbing for minus 146 over on FanDuel. A little juiced for sure. Now, guys, I know at first glance this number might be a little high here, okay? 35.5 points, pretty high team total, but the data is very strong in this spot. First and foremost, Texas Tech, 64% hit rate on this team total over of 35.5 points this season. 7 of 11 games, they've cashed the over, averaging 42.64 points per game this season. And even when they've missed a couple close misses there, 35 points versus Houston, 34 points versus Utah. So a lot of good numbers here. Texas Tech is very simple. Win, and you confirm you're 100% in the college football playoff. Lose, and the waters get very muddy very, very quickly here. But I don't think that's going to happen in this spot. They have a very good matchup here. On the last time they played West Virginia last season, they scored 52 points in that game. So, you know, they could score 16 points less. We still cashed the over. Good matchup. West Virginia, 99th in the nation, giving up 29.2 points per game this season. So barely in the top 100 in terms of scoring defense. 119th in passing yards allowed per game. That's obviously really big because Texas Tech, top 15 passing team in the nation. They're also top 30 in rushing yards per game. West Virginia, their rushing defense, a little bit better, than their pass defense, but not by much. They're still outside the top 50 in that regard. Not very efficient in the red zone. So a lot of good numbers here for Texas Tech, a team that's been scoring this number again, 64% hit rate this year. They're averaging over 42 points per game. I don't think they're going to let up in this spot here. Obviously, they need to win and win with some flash. Obviously, that helps their resume. 36 points is not that crazy. They should go ahead and do that with ease against a pretty bad West Virginia defense. So that's our 5th pick in today's video. Real quick, guys, I want to take a second to talk about the special promotion we're running over at the Fade Me store to celebrate Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the whole holiday weekend here. We are offering up to 50% off at the Fade Me store throughout December 2nd. So from today all the way through December 2nd, we are offering up to 50% off at the Fade Me store. As you can see, I'm wearing the Gambler hoodie right now, the Gambler hat. All that stuff is available over at the Fade Me store, along with a bunch of other stuff in terms of hats, t-shirts, hoodies, shorts, all kinds of great stuff over at the Fade Me store. And again, now through December 2nd, we're offering up to 50% off discounts on our apparel at the Fade Me store. So there's a link down below in the description. You can go ahead and take that to the Fade Me store, or just look at the Fade Me store online, and it'll take you right over there. And again, there's no promo code required. You just go ahead. Everything's marked down up to 50% off for apparel. So make sure to go ahead and take advantage of that special offer, and happy holidays from Guy Boston Sports to you. All right, guys, next up, our 6th pick in today's video, moving out of the 12 p.m. window now into the 1 p.m. slate here. Only one game at 1 p.m. that we're covering, but UCF at BYU. I'm going with UCF here, plus 19.5 on the spread, which I am grabbing from minus 131 over on Novik. This might come as a surprise to some, but BYU has not covered this line consistently all year long. Now, they do have a 67% cover rate overall this year, which is pretty good, admittedly. But at the specific line of minus 19.5 points, which is a high line to be fair, they've only covered it in 36% of their games this season. So they haven't been winning by 20 plus much. They have a cover against TCU. Then early in the year, they have a couple versus Eastern Carolina, Stanford, and I'm not even going to try to think of what that program is, PRST. They beat back in week 0 or week 1, whatever that game was. But as you can see here, since the Eastern Carolina game on September 20th, just one cover of 19.5 points. Now, again, UCF is not a very good team. I understand there's a spread. The spread is where it's at for a reason, right? But the last time these two teams played last season, UCF did cover the spread of plus 19.5. BYU won 37-24. UCF did cover. And if we look at the right side of the screen here at the matchup data, BYU's defense is very good, admittedly. But, and I know UCF's offense isn't great at first glance, I do think they're at least good enough offensively. The offensive line is good enough where BYU's pass rush won't put too much pressure. You know, they have a little bit there in the running game where I feel like UCF, they don't need to do much in this game, but they should be able to score a little bit on a BYU defense that is good. But we have seen in some of the recent performances, they do give up some points here, right? Texas Tech, obviously, they scored 29 points. Now, obviously, I don't want to compare UCF's offense to Texas Tech's offense, but Iowa State scored 27 points. Utah scored 21. Arizona scored 27. West Virginia scored 38 and scored 24. Excuse me. Sorry about that. The sun glare is kind of hitting the computer screen. It's making it hard to kind of see. But you have seen consistently teams score, in the ballpark of 21 to 24 points. And if that's the case, I don't think UCF needs to score more than that much to go ahead and cover this 19.5 point spread, because defensively, they're actually not that bad of a team. They got a top 20 pass defense in the nation. Now a clear advantage for BYU's rushing offense against UCF's rushing defense. I understand that. But again, I'm not saying they're going to keep this game close or going to win, but for BYU to win by 20 points or more, you got to score a healthy amount of points and prevent UCF from scoring. If UCF scores, let's say 21 points in this game, I don't know if BYU is going to score 41 or 41 plus points. If we look at their recent games, how many games they're scoring, TCU, they scored 44 points there, 41 versus Iowa State, and then that's it. Only 2 games this year where they have scored 41 or more points. And I think that's what they're going to have to score in that ballpark to cover this spread. I just don't see it. I think that, again, they've only covered that spread of 19.5 points in 36% of the games this year. UCF, on the flip side, they've covered plus 19.5 in 82% of the games, only twice this year. Texas Tech and Baylor are the only 2 teams that have been able to beat them by 20 or more points. Texas Tech, they're a top 10 team in the country. We just talked about them. That one makes sense. And Baylor, also a very good pass team. Really, really strong passing offense there. So it's understandable in those spots why that would happen. But every other game, and there's some good teams in there, Houston, Cincinnati, Kansas, some decent competition, they don't blow this team out. So I just don't see this being a massive blow in the favor of BYU. They didn't do it last year. They haven't really done it that much this year. So I'll take UCF with the points here at plus 19.5. All right, guys, our 7th pick in today's video, moving into the 3:30 p.m. window on Saturday. We got Cincinnati TCU. I'm going with the over here, 55.5 points, which I'm grabbing for minus 120, best odds available over on ESPN Bet. Now, right ahead, look at the matchup here. TCU offensively, decent offense. So they have a very strong passing offense, 11th best in the nation, averaging over 291 passing yards per game. Clear advantage there versus the Cincinnati Bearcats, defense that is 74th in the nation, giving up just shy of 223 passing yards per game. So you have a TCU offense with a clear advantage there against this Cincinnati defense. Also, you add the fact Cincinnati pass rush, not that great. TCU, pretty good offensive line. So they're going to have time in the pocket and time to go ahead and throw. Now, I will admit, not very efficient in the red zone. Cincinnati, very good defense, red zone efficiency. That's something to consider here. But I do think that TCU, clear advantage there offensively when looking at the passing game. Now, flipping over to the Cincinnati side, kind of similar story here. Very good advantage here. TCU, bad pass defense. The Bearcats, 60th in passing yards per game. Very good offensive line. TCU, not much of a pass rush. So again, another situation where you have the Cincinnati offense, they're going to have time to sit in the pocket and throw against a pretty weak defense. So both passing offenses, both are going to have time. They're going to have good protection because neither team has a great pass rush, and they've got good matchups in terms of both teams' pass defenses are sort of lacking. Cincinnati, admittedly, I think will do most of the heavy lifting in terms of the scoring, but I do think TCU can add enough to cash that over. And looking down below here, these are two teams. Look, when we're looking at this specific total of 55.5, Cincinnati has cashed that over 55.5 in 55% of their games this season. TCU in 64% of their games this year. So these are two teams that have leaned towards the over all year long, the majority of the time. Considering the matchup, they're both bad pass defenses. I think in this spot, the over isn't a bad bet. Now, they did meet last year, and admittedly, it was a low-scoring game, 20-13. The line was also very high in that one as well, 58.5. But this time around, I do expect a healthy amount of points in this matchup. The over, by the way, has hit. The insights provided by Outlier. The over has hit in 4 of the Bearcats' last 5 games on the road. So I do think it's a pretty good spot here to go ahead and tail the over. Next up, guys, we've got Oregon at Washington. Again, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. I am going with the Huskies here. Washington plus 7.5, which I'm grabbing for minus 130. Best odds available to me over on Novik. First and foremost, now overall this year, Washington just a 44% cover rate against the spread. So not great from an overall against the spread perspective. But looking at this particular line of plus 7.5, they've cashed in 82% of their games this season, including 4 consecutive games, 6 of their last 7. Only twice this year, they failed to cover plus 7.5 versus Michigan and versus Ohio State. Now, I do understand that Oregon is in the same ballpark of an Ohio State, of a Michigan in terms of the strength of that team, but Oregon battling a lot of injuries coming into this game. And Washington, although they also have a couple injuries to look at, they destroyed UCLA last week 48-14 and rested a lot of those key guys who were banged up in that game. Oregon, meanwhile, coming off a big win over USC, but a game where they didn't really necessarily get to rest some of their players. Very big, very physical, very obviously emotionally tolling big battle against a ranked team. They needed to win that game to save their playoff chances. And I'm not picking Washington to upset here, but look at all the injuries here, especially on the offensive side. Okay, a lot of wide receivers here, either banged up or out, a lot of questionables, a lot of interesting things to look at here, and a lot of wide receivers hurt for Oregon here. And that's a problem because this is a very good Washington defense. Looking at the matchup here, the strength of this Washington Huskies team has been their defense, top 20 scoring defense. Their pass defense is the one area they're a little bit more susceptible to get beaten on. But Oregon, not a great passing offense this year, outside the top 50 in terms of yards per game. And now you add the fact that they've got some injuries at the wide receiver room that could make the passing offense even less efficient. And now you're leading into a running game against a pretty good run defense. Now, the good thing is for Oregon, Washington don't have much of a pass rush, so they don't have to worry too much about being under pressure there. Although there are some injuries on the offensive line as well for Oregon. So I just think with the injuries for Oregon coming off a big win, this does feel like a bit of a letdown spot for the Ducks. I still think they win this game, but I think it's going to come down to, honestly, a field goal here. The one concern for me being, how is Washington going to score enough points? They do have a decent scoring offense, but obviously Oregon, a very good defense. As long as Washington can keep up offense, which is a big if, because this year Washington's offense has lacked at times, as long as they can sort of keep up offensively, we should be fine here in this position. So I think plus 7.5, getting that hook there is huge. The home field advantage obviously in play as well. So give me the Huskies here plus 7.5, which again, I'm grabbing for minus 130 over on Novik. All right, guys, next up, again, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. We have Vanderbilt, Tennessee. And this is another game clash. This is actually the only Clash of the Titans video that I have yet to record yet. It's either coming out later tonight or early tomorrow morning, but it is coming out within the next 24 hours. I am giving Tennessee as the pick here, minus 2.5, but again, not going to spend too much time here because we still have a few more picks to cover in this video. And again, my deeper thoughts, my deeper analysis, more picks will come from that Tennessee Vanderbilt Clash of the Titans video. But I do like Tennessee here, minus 2.5. They have the home field advantage at Rocky Top, which obviously is very, very huge. This offense has been phenomenal all year long, and they have a huge advantage here in terms of their pass defense, top 5 of the nation against this Vanderbilt pass defense. So big advantage there for Tennessee's offense. On the flip side, Vanderbilt offense against this Tennessee defense, they also have advantages, but ultimately that home field advantage is where I'm kind of leaning in this fight. It'll be a close game, but a 2.5 point spread I think is appropriate. A 3-point win for Tennessee does not seem bad to me, and for minus 110 on Novig, I'll take the home team in a game where it's essentially a coin flip, but I do think the home field advantage will be the difference maker in this spot for the Volunteers. All right, guys, 3 picks left in today's video. Next up, we have Missouri at Arkansas, a little SEC showdown here. Again, that 3:30 p.m. window. And I'm going Missouri money line here, which I am grabbing for minus 143 over on Novig. Now, you could take the spread at, like, let's say 2.5 points, and it'll still be worth it from a value standpoint. But I'm not taking any chances because this is an Arkansas team that can go to battle. And we've seen a couple games. You like look at this one, 1-point loss to LSU. Like they can hang in there and they can make it tight. 3-point loss here, 3-point loss here, 3-point loss here. They can hang around. So instead of trying to screw around with the spread and get beaten, let's say Missouri wins by 1 or 2 and you miss out, just take the money line, sacrifice a little bit of value from a money perspective, but still get the definite hit. And I think Missouri will win this game because that's the thing with Arkansas this year. They're 2-9, right? Yet they've covered the spread in a lot of games. They've hung around against some really good teams. Memphis, they lost by 1, lost by 6 to Ole Miss, lost by 3 to A&M, lost by 3 to Mississippi State, lost by 1 to LSU. Some good competition. They've hung around with them, but they don't win, and that's obviously the key point here. You also have a team that got beaten pretty badly by Texas last week, and they did score a healthy amount of points against a good Longhorns defense. We'll give credit where it is due, but even the interim head coach for Arkansas called out his players, saying there was a lack of effort and a lack of productivity against Texas and a lack of focus. And if your coach is coming out in the media and saying that, it's not a good look. And obviously this is a bad team, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was some locker room disarray going on here. But if you're not focused and laser sharp, and now you got to play a ranked team, a good, or actually I think Missouri's still ranked. They might not be ranked anymore. Either way, a good Missouri team coming into town here, obviously hungry. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. Obviously, but look at the competition. They lost to Oklahoma, A&M, Vanderbilt, Alabama. Like their 4 losses are against some of the best teams in the entire nation and as well as the SEC. Arkansas does not fall in that category. I do think they go ahead and win this game and finish the year off strong and get themselves in a better bowl game here. Their defense is good enough to slow down this Arkansas offense. On the flip side, this Arkansas defense is abysmal. Missouri, Ahmad Hardy should have a massive game on the ground here. I would not be surprised if he rushes for 250 on this Arkansas defense. His player props are something to look at as well for this game. But yeah, Missouri should roll here. Huge advantage against a bad Arkansas defense. On the flip side, Missouri's defense is good enough to at least slow Arkansas down. Give me the Tigers here on the money line. All right, guys, my second to last pick in this video, another SEC game, LSU at Oklahoma, another 3:30 p.m. kickoff here, and I'm going with the Sooners here at home, minus 8.5 against LSU. Oklahoma's another one of these teams here this week where it's very simple. Win, and you're probably in. Now, I think Oklahoma, especially, they win this game, they should be in, but you lose, and I think Oklahoma 100%, they're out of the playoffs. So their season is in their hands here. They have the home field advantage. They're playing an LSU team that, look, obviously they fired Brian Kelly. This season was far off from what they were hoping for. And even post Brian Kelly firing, the team hasn't really been playing better. They followed up obviously the A&M game, which I had the pleasure, I guess, of being at to see Brian Kelly's last game. They got blown out in that one. They lose to Alabama by 11, which I guess is a decent result considering how bad LSU's looked in weeks past. But then they lose to they beat Arkansas by 1. Again, it's a 2-win Arkansas team. How much? And then they beat Western Kentucky. So Not really great results. I mean, they were 24.5-point favorites against Western Kentucky. They won by 3 at home in Death Valley on senior night. Like, that's not good. And now you're on the road against Oklahoma team that needs this win desperately. To me, it's all said and done here. 9-point win for Oklahoma. They should win by 21 in this game. Their defense, one of the best in college football. I don't see LSU having any success here offensively. On the flip side here, their defense is pretty good, and that's what sucks about this LSU team. They have a good defense, and I'm interested to see how Oklahoma's offense will fare. But I just think this LSU team has kind of given up at this point, and I think Oklahoma, again, that motivation factor being so strong where they need this win to get in the playoff, I think they go ahead and roll here. So Oklahoma minus 8.5, minus 140 over on Novig. And last but not least, guys, our final pick in today's video, we have the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. I'm going with the Crimson Tide here, minus 5.5. A lot for the same reason like I just talked about with the Oklahoma LSU game. This is an Alabama team that needs this win to get in the playoff. Lose, your season's essentially over in terms of the national championship hopes that you have. You got to win to get in. And, a win at Auburn obviously would go a long way in helping them get into the playoff. This is going to be a low-scoring, gritty game here. Auburn obviously a pretty damn good defense. However, maybe not as low-scoring as we think because Alabama's passing offense, top 10 in the nation. Auburn's pass defense, 100th in the nation. They do have a good pass rush, which will be interesting against the Bama offensive line that at times this year has struggled. We'll see how that works. But as long as Ty Simpson can get going here, he should have no problem throwing. On an Auburn defense, it's also very inefficient in the red zone. On the flip side here, Bama, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Auburn, they're not good offensively against bad defensive teams, let alone one of the best in the country. So I just think Alabama to win by 6 points here. I know they're on the road, but for minus 109 over on Novig, a team that has a clear motivation. They need to win this game to get in the playoff, and they have clear advantages on both sides of the football. Alabama winning by 6 to me shouldn't be that much of a problem. Where Alabama struggled this year, they lost to Oklahoma. They lost to Florida State, which that game obviously was a rough one. But they're proven, they're battle tested. They've beaten good teams all year long. They beat Georgia, which is top 5 team in the country. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Missouri. They beat Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. And they lost by Oklahoma by 2. So I think Alabama is a much better team than Auburn here, and I think they should roll in this spot. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Now, very quickly, before we close out the video, as I mentioned right at the top here, I want to explain what the schedule is going to look like moving forward for college football. Obviously, this is the last week of the regular season. So from next week on, starting next week, we have conference championship games. And then after next week, we've got Army-Navy game followed by all the bowl games in the CFP. This is going to be, and this is different from years past, and I decided to do this because I think it's better for content. It's better for you guys in terms of the value of these games and these picks. This is going to be my last full slate college football picks video of the season. We'll be back next year, obviously, but I feel like doing the long slate picks are not worth it come bowl games because it's better for me to go and just break down the games individually. So from this point on, Clash of the Titans becomes the dominant video series for college football. So like starting for next week, for example, all the conference championship games, instead of doing one video and covering all those picks, I'm going to do an individual video for each of those conference championship games. Now, some people might like this. Some people might be annoyed by this. To those who are annoyed, I apologize. I think it's better. You're getting more value. I don't want to spend, like, these videos are great because we're covering a lot of games in a short matter of time. But when it comes to conference championships, in college football playoff, in bowl games, I don't want to spend 2 or 3 minutes on a pick. I also don't want the videos to be an hour long. I'd rather do 10 to 15 minute videos where I spend all 10 to 15 minutes breaking down these big time games versus doing an hour long video, spending 4 minutes on each game and not really getting to talk to you or give enough picks of these big time games. So this is my last full slate college football video of the year. From this point forward, we're doing individual videos for all the games, bowl games, CFP games, conference championship games, so on, an Army-Navy game, so on and so forth. I think that's the best way to go about it. It's actually more work for me, so it's not like it's easier for me, but it's, I think from a value standpoint, it's better for all of you out there. So just want to go ahead and make that announcement. So starting next week, Clash of the Titans will be the dominant college football picks format moving forward for the rest of this year. Again, the long slate videos will be back next year for regular season, but I figured this format works for the regular season, not so much for the playoff. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. Again, thank you all year long for your support in these videos. It's been great. And again, we got tons of college football content still to come, so make sure subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, hope you're all winners. Let's go ahead and make some money.